Hey there, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Bloomin Well Podcast. If you've ever felt anxious for what feels like no reason, or maybe you've struggled with brain fog that is relentless, or maybe you have that wired but tired feeling that keeps you up at night, today's episode is going to be just for you. What if I told you that your gut may be the reason that your nervous system is constantly on edge and dysregulated? Your digestion, your bloating, that heartburn, any sugar cravings, even stress may all be connected. Today, we are going to be breaking down exactly how gut dysbiosis, or an imbalance in your gut bacteria, can throw your entire nervous system into utter chaos. So grab your tea, get cozy, and let's dive in. I want to start with a quick question for you. Have you ever had a gut feeling about something? Maybe you've had butterflies before a big event, or you felt uneasy when you were nervous to give a big speech. That is entirely a physiological response. Your gut and your brain are talking to each other all of the time. Scientists call this your gut-brain axis. Your digestive system and your nervous system are best friends. Okay, they communicate through this superhighway that is a bundle of nerves and uses neurotransmitters, electrical signals, and even gut bacteria that work together to keep you feeling balanced, energized, and relaxed. So the catch is, when your gut is struggling, maybe it's due to anxiety and stress, or processed foods that you're eating, or even antibiotics or chronic inflammation, maybe even just a lack of sleep that week, that connection between your gut and your brain gets highly disrupted. Then your gut starts to send these distress signals to your brain, and that's when things start to feel even more off. Maybe you are anxious all of the time, you're having palpitations and getting clammy. Maybe you're exhausted, but you can't fall asleep at night. And if you can fall asleep, you're probably waking up multiple times and feeling horrible in the morning. Maybe you feel like you're just in a funk and you're flat, you're unmotivated, and you feel emotionally drained. These are not random. They're not just crazy symptoms that are coming up for no reason. They are messages from your body, specifically your gut. So why does all of this happen? Your gut isn't just for digestion. I know it sounds crazy, but it is actually a huge hub for neurotransmitter production. Studies show that over 90% of our serotonin, which is your brain's happy neurotransmitter, is actually made in your digestive tract. Think of serotonin as the chemical that helps you feel calm, content, emotionally stable. It helps to regulate your mood, your sleep, even pain perception. So when this gut-brain axis gets disrupted, your pain perception is off. You're going to perceive pain much more intensely than you would if you had healthy levels of serotonin. When your gut bacteria are struggling due to inflammation or an imbalance of those good or bad bacteria, or even just poor digestion, your ability to make serotonin, that happy neurotransmitter, is going to drop suddenly. You're going to feel more anxious, more stressed, more overwhelmed. Things are going to irritate you much more easily. If you stub your toe, it's going to feel like you need to make an emergency room visit. Things that wouldn't normally bother you are suddenly going to feel incredibly overwhelming. Your sleep is going to be even more disrupted, which is going to plummet your energy levels, alter those hormone levels even more. It's really a vicious cycle, right? So this gut-brain connection explains why people who have digestive issues like gut dysbiosis or IBS are more likely to struggle with things like anxiety, depression, and even nervous system dysregulation. It's not just serotonin, right? Your gut bacteria also help to regulate dopamine. which is the reward center of your brain, right? We've heard a lot about this in the last several years, especially in regards to quick fixes and social media. But dopamine production has to do with your motivation, your pleasure. Your gut also plays a role in GABA, which is a relaxation neurotransmitter, and also has to do with pain levels and pain perception. So when these levels of neurotransmitters are off, it makes you feel like your nervous system is always in that fight or flight mode. You're always in that high alert zone. So let's take a look at one of my patients from about 6 months ago. We'll call her Sarah. So Sarah wakes up and she drinks coffee on an empty stomach at 5 a.m. And then she rushes out the door and she grabs something super sugary because she didn't have time for breakfast that day. And that's something that she does almost every day because life is fast-paced, right? 2 hours later, she starts to feel jittery, irritable, anxious, and very panicky. What do you think happened in that scenario? Her gut bacteria were not fed properly. Her blood sugar crashed because her body wasn't fueled, and her nervous system freaked out. Your body reads this as a threat, which means it's going to, in turn, release those stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline and make you feel more on edge. And the more consistently you do this, the more frequently your body's going to release those hormones day to day and even multiple times throughout your day. So let's take another client of mine who I've been working with for a couple of months now. We'll call this person Sam. So Sam's been feeling very bloated and sluggish, and he randomly started craving sweets all of the time. And even though he was trying to cut back on carbs because he wanted to lose weight and look good for the ladies, he found himself reaching for carbs and snacks all day long. Consistently, like he was wanting to snack every 30 minutes to an hour and a half. So what do you think was going on in his case? Certain bad gut bacteria can hijack those cravings, right? They can literally send chemical signals up through that vagus nerve into your brain and cause you to crave and eat more sugar and more carbs because that is what they need. That is what they feed off of. And then the more sugar that they get, the more carbs that they get, the worse your bloating, the worse your diarrhea, the worse your constipation, the more they thrive, the worse your gut imbalance becomes. We're going to look at another example from me about 2 years ago. So I was lying in bed, absolutely exhausted, but my brain would never shut off. I was constantly thinking about work and all of these pressing deadlines, and I would replay conversations over and over in my head from the same day, trying to figure out what I could have done differently or maybe how that conversation could have, taken a different turn. And then my heart would just start pounding and it would beat really hard and really fast. And eventually I would feel it up in my throat and I would get lightheaded and anxious. And eventually I might fall asleep. But then every single morning at 3 a.m. on the dot, I would wake up. So why? I was so confused, right? Like I, at the time, had no idea what was going on in my body. I had no idea that my gut-brain connection was suffering, that my nervous system was dysregulated, that my body was trying to protect me by shifting into this survival mode, but ultimately doing more damage over time. So my digestive tract was excessively inflamed because at the time I was eating a lot of fast food, right? I had 2 jobs and I said I can't cook, so I was eating out a lot. And that gut inflammation from all of the processed foods led to severe cortisol imbalances, which again is your body's stress hormone. It was all a response to stress and not just the mental stress. Fortunately, all of the stress was also heavily disrupting my circadian rhythm and my sleep-wake cycle. And I was constantly waking up at 3 a.m. And it was also leading to very unstable blood sugar levels. So my blood sugar was dropping all the time, especially at night, and my body was panicking and trying to bring that back into balance by releasing cortisol to elevate my blood sugar naturally without food. And unfortunately, it was waking me up. See how all of this connects, right? Your gut and your nervous system are constantly in communication. They're in this constant feedback loop where one is struggling, the other is going to follow because of the heavy communication. And the good thing is, though, that when you heal your gut, you help to regulate your nervous system too, which in turn can benefit your mental health. Those serotonin, dopamine, and GABA levels can improve. Let's move on and talk about the key signs of gut dysbiosis so that you can figure out if your gut health is playing a role in your anxiety, energy levels, and overall nervous system dysregulation. The tricky part is that gut imbalances don't just show up as bloating or stomach pain or even heartburn, right? They can disguise themselves as mood swings or fatigue, anxiety, sleep disorders, even panic attacks. If you've ever felt off but couldn't put your finger on why, let's go through some telltale signs that your gut may be the root cause. If you are feeling wired but tired, you're exhausted, you can't sleep, you're waking up all the time, but you feel so tired, right? You lay your head on the pillow, you're exhausted, but your brain won't shut off, your body won't turn off, right? This happens when your nervous system is overactive, but burnt out. So gut inflammation can throw off those cortisol levels, which dysregulate your sleep cycle and your circadian rhythm, which makes it hard to fully wind down at night, even if your body is begging you for rest. If you're waking up between 2 and 4 a.m. with racing thoughts, palpitations, or a lot of anxiety, it could be because your blood sugar is dropping too low during sleep. And thanks to gut dysbiosis disrupting your metabolism, your body starts to release stress hormones, again, cortisol and adrenaline, in order to stabilize that blood sugar at 2 to 4 in the morning. So this suddenly jolts your body awake and can make you feel like the world is ending or someone's breaking in or, just like there's this impending doom in the middle of the night. When really it's a blood sugar dysregulation issue. If you're randomly getting panic attacks that feel unexplainable, no matter what time of day, if you've ever had like this wave of anxiety that hit you out of nowhere, maybe you're driving or you're working or you're just watching TV and trying to relax, and then suddenly your heart starts to race. This could also be triggered by gut-related inflammation, right? Again, it could be blood sugar crashes, even poor neurotransmitter production. For me and my story, I was actually having histamine reactions that were triggering these panic attacks. I didn't realize that that's what it was, right? But immediately after I would eat, I would get this horrible anxiety. And I was consistently checking my blood sugar, thinking, oh, it's hypoglycemia, my blood sugar's dropping, something's happening, I need to eat more. But it was actually a histamine reaction. I was having allergic reactions to food that were triggering this adrenaline rush. And the interesting thing with that is the more I healed my body, the more delayed those reactions became until they disappeared. So instead of immediately reacting to the foods, it started happening 15 minutes out, 30 minutes out, an hour, 2 hours later, until they finally, stopped. If you're experiencing things like brain fog, forgetfulness and memory issues, irritability, or just low energy levels as a default setting for you, gut dysbiosis can increase inflammation and disrupt nutrient absorption that leads to low vitamin and mineral levels like vitamin B, magnesium, omega-3s, which are all critical for these functions. They're all important to the brain. They're all important to energy production in the body. So if you feel like you're constantly in this haze, you can't focus, or maybe you are jumping from one task to the other, and it's like you have ADD, ADHD, it's not just you, right? It could be your digestive tract playing a much bigger role than you're realizing. Another thing is that your digestion is often off, right? We'll get bloating, food sensitivities, IBS, heartburn. And I know this one seems obvious because we are talking about gut health, but I want to mention it because it's important, right? And there are some people who might not even have the gut symptoms or might not have heavy gut symptoms, but have the anxiety and stuff, even though they're still connected. So if you deal with chronic bloating or this alternation between chronic constipation and diarrhea, or you have these sudden food reactions, your gut lining may be compromised, or maybe your gut bacteria are imbalanced, right? And all of this can lead to poor digestion and absorption of the nutrients that your body needs, that your nervous system needs to function properly and to get out of that fight or flight state. You may also be craving carbs or sugar or even fats like crazy, especially when you're stressed, because your gut bacteria tell your brain what to crave. And your gut microbiome being out of balance means they're in control. And they want what they want. They're going to tell you what they want via these cravings because that's what they feed off of. But another reason that you might have these cravings is also because when this inflammation level is high and the stress response is triggered, the cortisol tells your body to use more sugar, right? We need a fast source of energy, something we can use very, very quickly. Your blood sugar can crash from dysbiosis, which makes your body crave that quick energy fix and leads to another cycle of these roller coasters, these highs and lows of blood sugar crashes. So if you've checked off even a few of these, I promise you it is not just in your head. Your gut is sending these distress signals to your nervous system. So let's move on and take a look at what is happening inside your body when your gut bacteria are actually out of balance. What does an issue in your gut feel like? Why does it feel like anxiety or brain fog? Let's look at 4 key ways that your digestive system can throw off your nervous system. First off, we have leaky gut and inflammation. Your gut lining is supposed to act as a protective barrier, okay? It keeps out toxins, bacteria, undigested food, parasites, pathogens, all of these things out of your bloodstream, and it keeps it in the digestive tract. When gut dysbiosis damages that lining, it can get these little holes and unwanted particles can leak into the bloodstream, which means it is going out throughout the body wherever it wants to go, right? Wherever that blood flow is carrying it. Now, your immune system sees these invaders as a threat and immediately launches an inflammatory response. The problem is that inflammation doesn't stay isolated when those particles are circulating through the bloodstream all throughout the body. That means it can travel to the brain and contribute to things like anxiety and brain fog and the mood swings that we talked about. And there are plenty of studies that show how chronic inflammation is linked to higher cortisol levels and even depression. We also have the vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is that direct hotline between your gut and your brain. Okay, so it is what actually carries the signals from the digestive tract to the brain and from the brain to the digestive tract. And if your gut is out of balance, it is going to send these stress signals to your nervous system and keep you locked into that fight or flight mode, which can look like feeling restless, hyper aware, easily startling, even when there's nothing stressful that's happening around you. But on the flip side, when your gut is unhealthy, your vagus nerve helps to send that calm and safety to your brain, which keeps it in that rest and digest mode. And we talk about this a lot in our program. That rest and digest mode is where your body heals. If you have any illness, any disease, your body cannot heal unless it spends time in that rest and digest mode. That is where cellular healing occurs, regeneration. We also have the blood sugar roller coaster. So if you've ever skipped a meal and you suddenly felt dizzy, shaky, irritable, anxious, clammy, that is because these gut bacteria play a crucial role in stabilizing your blood sugar. So when gut dysbiosis is present, blood sugar levels become erratic, which can lead to these sudden crashes that trigger your stress hormones. And in some cases, this can trigger severe anxiety and even panic attacks. So when you're waking up at 3 a.m. with racing thoughts, or you're having a panic attack an hour after your meal or 30 minutes after your meal, it might have to do with blood sugar dips, right? Your body is responding to that spike in cortisol as a survival mechanism. Also going to see neurotransmitter disruptions, right? Your gut is not digesting food. It is a major production site for brain chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. We've talked about that. 90% of that serotonin is made in your gut. So these things help you to remember why you walked into a room, right? They help you focus on your partner when they're confiding in you, or to give you the motivation to clean your house or your bedroom or your apartment. And when these bacteria are imbalanced, they're not going to produce these properly. You're not going to pull the nutrients that you need out of the food that you're eating and use them to make these neurotransmitters and feel good, right? And that's why you feel blah. That's why you feel like you have no motivation or you're having trouble sleeping. If your gut's not happy, your brain's not happy either. So that was a lot of heavy information, right? It feels like there's no hope, but I promise you there are some things that you can do about it. Let's talk about that. Let's move on to the good part. So if your nervous system and your gut are struggling, there are a few things that you can start with that are going to make a huge impact in terms of how you feel and how you function. So firstly, eating more prebiotic and probiotic foods. Your gut bacteria thrive on prebiotics, right? They need, and when I say this, I'm talking about your good bacteria, right? Earlier we were talking about dysbiosis and the bad bacteria. We have to feed the good bacteria so that they overthrow the bad, right? And this starts with the prebiotics and probiotics. Now that prebiotic is going to be good fiber that feeds the good bacteria and makes them big and strong, right? So they can fight off the bad bacteria. And the probiotics, which are the live, good, beneficial bacteria, are going to be obviously found in supplements, but also in foods like sauerkraut, yogurt, kimchi. You'll get your prebiotics from bananas, asparagus, broccoli, things like that. All of this is going to help you repopulate your gut with the right microbes that are going to help reduce inflammation, repair the gut lining, and improve your mood, because your gut is going to be able to make those neurotransmitters. And there are studies that show how probiotic-rich diets are linked to lower stress and lower anxiety. I also think it's very important to hydrate to support your digestion. If you're increasing fiber and you're increasing probiotics, you want to support that with water. That fiber is going to soak up a lot of water, so you need extra water to get things moving. And if your digestive system is not properly hydrated, you're going to get constipation. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to get bloating. Herbs that can be beneficial, whether they're in a supplement form or in teas or smoothies, are things like chamomile and ginger, which can soothe the gut lining, reduce that bloating, and support a healthy form of digestion. And I personally use chamomile because it helps to calm the nervous system, and that also means calming your gut, right? Because a huge part of your nervous system is in your digestive tract. One of the most important ones is supporting your vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve is a direct highway, a hotline between the gut and the brain. And when it is stimulated in healthy ways and consistently, day after day, it shifts your body from fight or flight into that rest and digest mode where you can heal. So practices like deep breathing, humming, gargling, and cold exposure activate that vagus nerve. So if you ever feel anxious after eating, try some vagus nerve exercises, even if it's just a physiological sigh or some box breathing. Is it going to fix all of your problems if you do that breathing exercise immediately after eating? That one time? No. If you have no muscle mass and you go to the gym and lift as heavy as you can one time, are you going to get bulky and big and strong? No, it's the same concept. Exercise the vagus nerve like you would if you were going into the gym to get beefy, because we want strong and resilient nervous systems, right? It takes time, consistency, discipline, one that is going to benefit you in terms of your energy levels and in terms of sleep is balancing your blood sugar. So when your blood sugar spikes and crashes, we know that it triggers cortisol. That cortisol surges really high, leaves you feeling jittery, irritable, and panicked. So avoiding that in the morning looks like starting your day with high protein and healthy fats like eggs or avocado, nut butter, things that are going to fuel your brain, which is mostly fat, instead of carb-heavy breakfasts that are going to crash your sugar immediately after eating. So the high protein, the high fat is going to help stabilize those energy levels, keep the anxiety at bay, and prevent those dips. And this change on its own is, I personally think, the one that was most impactful for me and one of the most impactful for my patients and clients. Your gut and brain are always talking, guys. And when you take care of one, you're taking care of the other. And that is the work that I do, right? So I love to help people just like you understand their bodies, to figure out the root cause of their nervous system dysregulation and gut health issues, and to help you create an environment where healing is happening naturally, right? Because your body has this innate intelligence where it knows what to do if you give it the room to do it. If you give it what it needs, it can heal. And I know how frustrating it can be when you want to heal, but you feel stuck in that survival mode because, hello, I was there. I was bedridden for almost a year, right? Chronically ill, in and out of the hospital, seeing multiple doctors. I've been there. But you can feel better. If I can do it, you can do it. Your body wants to heal, and you just need the right tools and the right support, the right community. I would love to hear what your biggest takeaway was from today's episode, because I know it was a huge chunk of information. And if you need to come back and watch it or listen to it again, that's okay, because when we're in a stressed state, sometimes things go in one ear and out the other because our body's trying to grasp onto whatever is immediately beneficial. If you are ready for a step-by-step plan to reset your nervous system and to heal your gut from the inside out, this is my signature program that we are developing, and it is designed to help shift you out of that survival mode and help you to finally feel at ease in your body. So you can request an invite at the link in the notes and be the first one to know when enrollment opens. If you did love this episode, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend who needs this information. And leave a comment, leave a review wherever you're listening or watching, because it truly helps our podcast grow and develop, improve, and reach so many more people who absolutely need this type of information. Sending much love to you and calm, and until next time, keep bloomin' well.